Good evening, I'm John Carter and welcome to Poland Daily. There are a few stories which have captured the imagination more than the Warsaw Włochy district corruption case. It not only involves a hefty bribe, at least for approximately €50,000, but also an extremely rich Turkish-born developer and local politician from the Civic Platform Party. According to emerging details, both men drove their cars down a remote street in Warsaw. When the cars approached slowly, the corrupted politician, Artur W., kept his driver window open and the Turkish developer threw in a pack with 200,000 Polish zloty. This operation was under surveillance from Polish agents who followed both cars and arrested the perpetrators. This criminal investigation has already sent tremors through the Polish political scene.
At first, media reports were contradictory. Some outlets claimed that Artur W., the governor of the Warsaw district Włochy, which in Polish also means Italy, was driving his Maserati. It turned out that he was driving a humble Skoda that belongs to his office. Nevertheless, this individual used to own Warsaw Pavement in a Lamborghini Urus, reportedly borrowed from one of the dealers. After his arrest, he cried. Turkish developer Sabri B. has been active in Warsaw for almost 30 years, and this bribe was not his first. He realized that he was being chased by police and ran into a Turkish bar, where reportedly he hid under the restaurant's kitchen sink. Several Turkish nationals in the bar tried to block access to the police, so they had to use force. Sabri B. is a well-known figure. He used to own a Pogoń Szczecin football club and is very active in the booming Warsaw real estate market. According to experts, this might be yet more proof that Civic Platform officials who rule the Warsaw municipality are corrupt and should be investigated.
With or without Mr. Tusk? That is the question. It is still unclear whether the outgoing head of the European Council, Donald Tusk, will decide to stand in next year's presidential election. Waiting for Tusk's decision is seemingly propping up the Civic Platform. How serious is the idea? More from Aleksandra Zarzycka.
Borys Budka ma wątpliwości, czy pomysł prawyborów.
MP Borys Budka doubts whether the idea of a primary election to select the Civic Coalition candidate in the 2020 Polish presidential elections is acceptable. It is not the idea itself, but the amount of time left before the presidential elections. Not many politicians have declared that they will run, aside from the present Deputy Speaker of the House, Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska. Many are waiting for the decision of the outgoing head of the European Council, Donald Tusk, who has not declared one way or the other. Mr. Tusk's various public appearances have left the matter open to speculation by the media. Recently, Mr. Tusk announced an upcoming new book titled Frankly, which will hit bookstores on December 12, 2019. Many political observers say that the new Civic Platform project in the form of the party primary is a smokescreen for the increasing loss of popularity for the chairman, Grzegorz Schetyna.
Jana Filipa Libickiego z Polskiego Stronnictwa Ludowego.
My również będziemy wkrótce gotowi do wskazania kandydata.
Soon we will be ready to announce who is our candidate for presidential elections and starting the election campaign. We have discussed various ways to come up with a particular person as our candidate, and we still are in the process. Expect the final decision next week.
Dyskusja na ten temat zapewne będzie skonkludowana w przyszłym tygodniu.
Ja mam bardzo bujną
I have an
wyobraźnię.
luxuriant imagination and have heard various statements from Mr. Tusk, and I have doubts if he is ready to face the challenge of the primaries, in particular where he still has some tasks to be fulfilled in Europe.
Obowiązki w Europie póki co.
Nasz kandydat na prezydenta jest znany.
Our presidential candidate is known. It is Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz. My understanding is that the Civic Platform and the whole Civic Coalition make this primary to buy time to resolve internal problems after the parliamentary elections. I wish them and Mr. Schetyna, whom I like and respect, well, and I hope that they solve their problems.
Żeby się sobie Platforma Obywatelska czy Koalicja Obywatelska poradziła z tymi problemami.
Kandydowanie Donalda Tuska, ponieważ wszyscy powiedzą teraz, tak.
The candidacy of Donald Tusk is the center of this. They say to him, we need to organize primaries now, but he still has things to do in Brussels, so he will be eliminated this way. Mr. Schetyna is killing two birds with one stone and is avoiding responsibility for troubles he caused in his own party.
Krytyki i z linii strzału.
Zarząd Platformy nie...
The Civic Platform Party did not make any decisions today. The next meeting of their board will be on Friday, November 8, 2019.
8 listopada.
The premature British parliamentary elections will take place on December the 12th. The UK's Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, hopes that the victory will help him deal with the issue of Brexit on his own terms.
More and more parishes and institutions in Poland organize events as a response to Halloween. Holy Winds is an initiative directed mainly towards children to make them more interested in the country's traditions and positive values.
Zamiast straszyć, możemy świętować ze świętymi.
Instead of scaring each other, we can celebrate with the saints. That's why we have the Holy Winds initiative. It's organized for children, youth and families which celebrate together. Catholics and Christians don't celebrate Halloween, we celebrate the All Saints' Day. Then, on All Souls' Day, we pray especially for those who passed away. I strongly encourage everyone to take part in the Holy Winds initiative. The children dress up as their favorite saints, an example their patrons. There are different kinds of processions, youth gatherings, games and plays. It's all in a very positive spirit. According to columnist Tomasz Terlikowski, the best response to Halloween is simply celebrating the All Saints and All Souls Days.
Czy nie musimy koniecznie odpowiadać na każdy głupi zwyczaj.
We don't necessarily have to respond to every dumb tradition, even with wise new tradition. It's best to simply visit the cemeteries, go to a holy mass, pray to all the saints who are already in heaven for their intercession, pray for all the souls in the purgatory. And that's the best kind of response for stupid holidays. Of course, if someone wants to have some fun with events like the Holy Winds, nothing stands in the way. It's a great project.
To jest bardzo fajna zabawa.
Polish Catholics who object to the increasing popularity of Halloween in Poland have started an initiative called Holy Winds. The initiative is mainly directed towards children and aims to promote the saints of the Catholic Church instead of celebrating a pagan holiday.
A great majority in the House of Commons was in favour of the earlier British Parliament elections. 438 parliamentarians voted in favour and only 20 were against. The European Union's decision to extend the Brexit deal until January 31st was probably the reason why the MPs made this decision.
Mr. Speaker, it is now a week since Parliament voted to delay Brexit yet again. It is a week since this Parliament voted yet again to force Brussels to keep this country in the European Union for at least another 3 months at a cost of £1 billion a month.
If the House of Lords adopts the bill and the Queen signs it, the Parliament will be dissolved. If that happens, a fast election campaign is going to take place in the UK. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson sees a chance for a change of priorities in the British Parliament, which could result in early elections.
There is only one way now to move this country forward and to have that debate, and that is to get Brexit done. And there is only one way to get Brexit done in the face of this unrelenting parliamentary obstructionism, this endless, willful, fingers crossed, not me, gov refusal to deliver on the mandate of the people, and that is, Mr. Speaker, to refresh this Parliament and give the people a choice.
The President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, said on Twitter that the date of Brexit could be final. To my British friends, the EU27 has formally adopted the extension. It may be the last one. Please make the best use of this time. I also want to say goodbye to you as my mission here is coming to an end. I will keep my fingers crossed for you. The British people, asked by reporters, say that they are in favour of an extension of the process of the UK leaving the European Union.
Probably the best thing to resolve an impasse. There doesn't seem to be any other way to resolve it, so maybe going to the polls is one way of moving things forward.
I think it's probably a good thing to clear the air in Parliament and hopefully bring about a majority government. It's a bit difficult running with a minority government in power.
Thank you very much for joining me here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter, and I'm sitting in this chair for the final time this evening. I'd like to thank everybody at Poland Daily, all the writers, producers, presenters, all the Republica technicians, editors, etc. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honour to be the first presenter, the first Polish news in English here in Poland. So, all that needs to be said is stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily Weather. It's followed by the business, culture, history, and finally the travel.
Hello, and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. The forecast for tonight calls for a fairly cool evening in Poland. We can expect partly cloudy skies throughout the country. The only exceptions will be Katowice and Zielona Góra, where we will see clear skies and can expect the temperatures to drop below zero. Olsztyn can expect cloudy skies and a temperature of 0. The warmest spots on the map will be Koszalin and Gdańsk at 3 and 4 degrees. Tomorrow we can expect a fair autumn day in Poland, with partly cloudy skies throughout the country and temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees. The only exceptions will be Wrocław and Zielona Góra, where we can expect clear skies and a high of 9 degrees. That is all for now. I thank you for joining us, and I invite you to stay with us for Poland Daily Business.
Poland Daily Business Edition. We will motivate you a little bit tonight because our guest is Michał Kanarkiewicz, author of the book Chess Master Strategy in Business. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hello, good morning.
How did you come up with the idea of binding the chess strategy with the business procedures and the business ideas?
That was one day I came up with a plan to translate chess strategies into business strategies because there was no any other author of that ideas except only Garry Kasparov was the only one who was talking about this. So I decided to write a book about that, and I used strategies of great chess grandmasters, which I firmly believe could prove inspiring and useful in the area of business.
Any proof of that?
Well, this is like an inspiration, yeah? So I think we should focus ourselves on some skills that we can follow from chess and we can translate from chess into business. For example, about concentration, about strategic thinking, and also about determination. There are some skills that we can take from chess into business.
So the focus is the first.
Yeah, also, yeah.
The chess masters and the players are usually focused on this checkboard. And but is there any strategy that lets you outsmart your opponent in business?
Well, it's there is one idea that I really believe is great. That you should have one more move than your opponents, and you can also use it in chess, but also in business. And I really believe that it is a great idea that you just have one more move than your opponent, and it's maybe it's simple, but I see that it is a really great idea.
As a motivation speaker, as a presenter, you bring these ideas to the business people, the people who actually work in the corporation, because only
mostly.
Corporations can afford your services, I am afraid. And so
mostly, yes.
What are the results?
What are the results? Again, it's about an inspiration and about strategic thinking. I mean by saying that you can focus yourself in first about motivate them. You can do better. You can use strategies of great chess grandmasters. But on the other hand, there are skills like strategic thinking and also about planning ahead. So there are just two parts of that. What I do with my clients.
Okay, you wrote this book. How long it took for you to prepare such a piece of strategic thinking advisory?
I was thinking about this book for last 1 year, but I wrote this book in like 2 or 3 weeks. But you can see that I wrote this book in 2 or 3 weeks, but I was thinking about that for last year, and there are my experiences and also my knowledge, and somehow there are also interviews with chess players who are successful in the area of business. So there are 6 interviews with chess players who are successful in the area of business, and it is great, in my opinion.
Are they saying why they succeed?
Yeah, that's why I did those interviews, because I asked them what did they took from chess into business, and that was about that.
Well, very interesting position, very interesting idea, Michał Kanarkiewicz, Chess Master Strategy in Business. That's a book. You can read in Polish right now. I hope it will be in English.
It will be translated in 2020.
2020, new book on the business strategy, sir. Thank you very much for participation in this show. And that was it for Poland Daily Business tonight.
Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily Business Weather. The forecast for tomorrow will bring a lovely autumn day to Poland. We can expect partly cloudy skies throughout the country and clear skies in Wrocław and Zielona Góra. It will be a fairly warm day for this time of year, and we can expect the temperatures to vary from 6 to 9 degrees. In Europe, we can expect snow in Vilnius and Minsk, and with the temperatures being above zero, there's a high chance of sleet. Bucharest, Ankara, Athens, and Rome can expect to see rain and temperatures of 6 to 22 degrees. Lisbon, Paris, Bern, and Dublin will see cloudy skies and temperatures varying from 12 to 21 degrees. The rest of the continent will see partly cloudy skies and temperatures of 5 degrees in the north to 21 degrees in the south. That is all for now. I thank you for joining us, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and this is Poland Daily Culture. Have you ever wanted to meet a real prince? Our today's guest, Jan Lubomirski, is the one. Thank you for being with us.
It's a big pleasure for me. Thank you.
Now he's organizing a great Lubomirski Music Festival. At first, let's see some shots of this event. Janek, you managed to open and to move the festival, Lubomirski Festival, to make it much bigger this year and to move it to 5 different cities. So it's actually incredible. You even got a patronage of our president this year. So congratulations for that. And tell us, it starts this Thursday in the Warsaw Philharmonic with a opening concert. What are we going to listen there?
This is true. We managed, actually. I cannot take all the credit on myself. This is a big work of Agnieszka Skotniczna, who is really amazing in that. That's true. We got the patronage from the Polish president. He was actually very happy to do it. I even managed to speak with him personally about it, and he was very happy that this kind of festival is going on. It's actually, as you said, the 2nd edition, and it's true that we managed to put it even abroad, so to Ukraine and to Austria. The first concert, which will be very soon, and I'm very into it, will be quite special because the opening concert will be also combined with giving of some prizes and some statues to some of the great artists and people who are helping by the festival. I will just say about perhaps 2 or 3 of them. So the main, our great conductor. This is Sebastian Perłowski. He's also a composer. He's an incredible person, and I think that my great-grandfather would be very, very proud to meet such a person. I am myself very proud. He's a very kind and incredibly talented person. Sebastian is putting really his heart in the festival. And he's doing it really great. I can see how the musicians, when he's conducting, how they are happy to cooperate with him. And we have also an incredible star on the festival, which is Małgorzata Walewska. She will be not on the first day, but welcome everybody to the next concerts, which will be in the Łazienki Teatr Stanisławowski. And I'm very happy to cooperate with Łazienki because of the Princess Lubomirski Foundation and me being in the board of Łazienki. So thank you again also to Director Wawer, who was helping us with this. So Małgorzata Walewska also managed to record a lot of songs of Władysław Lubomirski and Kazimierz Lubomirski. Because in our family, we had actually two composers. One is much more known than Władysław. He managed to do a special Christmas song, which is called O Gwiazdeczko. It's quite known in Poland, but the most famous thing, why he is known as a composer, this is a song which was sung by Frank Sinatra.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing. Hey,
in Polish. This was the only song which Frank Sinatra sang in Polish. You can still see it on YouTube. And this is Ever Homeward. And this is a song written by Kazimierz Lubomirski. So we will hear also Kazimierz Lubomirski on one of the days of the concert. So I must say we had quite a musically family. Also, not composed by member of a family, but connected with my family, is, I think, the most known Christmas carol in Poland, which is the...
Bóg się rodzi, probably.
Bóg się rodzi, of course, yes, you knew it. Yes. And this was connected with Izabela Lubomirska, written by Karpiński, of course, Franciszek Karpiński, but for Izabela Lubomirska, who was owner of Łańcut. And you can hear all this, like, dom nasz i majętność całą, so our home and all our property. This was about Łańcut and the properties which were around. So a lot of music in the family.
Probably really not a lot of Poles even knew about it.
Yes, this is true, yes.
And you even managed to invite another great pianist, Piotr Sałajczyk.
Oh, yes.
So it's all just a dessert in music.
And the great Peszko also, she is incredible, yes. I really like her.
Which composers will be during this festival? Because you're promoting few figures, which their music the audience will be able to hear.
Yes, Karłowicz, for example, he's a very famous Polish composer and was also part of the protégés of my great-grandfather, but I think the most famous one of them, this is Szymanowski, of course. I must say that Szymanowski's music was very modern for that time. It was like very innovative, and I would say that he is quite similar in his music to Penderecki now. We have the big pleasure to know Mr. Penderecki, and my family knows very well, my mother actually also, and my father. And I must say that there are big similarities between this music. So there will be a lot of, in the concerts, a lot of music of Szymanowski. Actually, my family owns 10 years of Szymanowski's production, I would say. This was in the contract between Szymanowski and my great-grandfather.
10 years of all of
yes.
Of his music,
exactly.
Which were created. That's incredibly interesting as well. But of course we're going to listen, especially in Łazienki Palace, Władysław Lubomirski compositions and his music. Yes. What nature has this music? What kind of songs are there? What kind of compositions?
Oh, he is much softer, I would say. He is also, when he was composing, he was trying to, for example, his operette. This is similar to Wesoła Wdówka, Die lustige Witwe. So you can imagine this is kind of like a cheerful Austrian Vienna music of that time. Yes, so this is very nice. This is like very easy to hear, very music which was really liked at that moment. Contrary to Szymanowski, which is really, I must say that you have to have a very good ear, like a music ear, to understand this music and to hear it.
So your great-grandfather was mostly creating music,
he was doing a lot of different kind of music, because he was doing an opera, an operetta, and also pieśni, so like songs. You would call it songs, but these are special kind of songs, which of course sometimes are even without words. So this is like just music.
Absolutely. Everyone who would like to listen to music and compositions of Władysław Lubomirski, you have to attend Lubomirski Music Festival. And thank you for watching Poland Daily Culture.
Welcome to Poland Daily History. I'm here in the studio with Anglo-Polish filmmaker Stefan Thompson. Stefan, good morning.
Good morning, Nicholas.
One of your most recent projects is looking at the whole issue of the nationalisation of land in Poland and businesses.
Yes.
After the Second World War. How's that film? What were your main conclusions as a result of making that film?
So the film I made is called They Built Our Happiness, which is a reference to a film within a film of a cult Polish film called Man of Marble, made by Wajda, which references the people who rebuilt Poland and who started building communist Poland, and it was a sort of an inside joke in a sense. The They Built Our Happiness refers to the utopian communists who were trying to socially engineer Poland and economically engineer it, and sort of pointing at them and saying, they tried to build our happiness, and then pointing to the people who were the entrepreneurs and the landowners and the business owners who were destroyed, fought, jailed, tortured, killed in some instances, who in reality did build our happiness, because the memory of ownership, be it property ownership or entrepreneurship, is the reason that communism eventually fell. The film stretches from 1944 with the introduction of land reform, the first big communist move, land reform, going all the way through the nationalization of business, the so-called war against small business owners waged between 47 and 49, stretching all the way to the shifts in 56, vague reforms, and then covering the recreation in communist conditions of various market realities, free market realities, which inevitably came out even in the communist absurdity, and the communists' fight against these people. And it culminates in the reform instituted by Wilczek, Wilczek being the one of the last communist finance ministers, who introduced an incredibly liberal free market law in 1988 and allowed for the economic transformation of Poland. And the film is a rugged attempt at the defense of the principle of private ownership, entrepreneurship, and the free market. And it was entrepreneurship and property ownership are things that have been, these are subjects that have been very, they've been left sort of buried. It's a topic that no one's really touched for a variety of reasons. And it's a topic that I believe is incredibly important for young people today in Poland to realize not just the ideological dangers of communism, but the practical implementation of it.
Indeed.
I think one can understand the ideological dangers of a totalitarian ideology, but looking at the way land was seized, the way businesses were seized, behind the ways that businesses that couldn't be seized were purposefully destroyed and their owners jailed, imprisoned. I mean, horrible things were done to all sorts of business owners. That, I think, is an incredibly important thing, and it's an incredibly important thing because memory is a very failing concept. It's surprising how fast we forget things.
Well, we do. I mean, you do. I mean, take a silly example, or maybe not a silly example. The time I've been in Warsaw, the skyline has completely changed. and you forget that the building you now see was actually a wasteland 20 years ago, or something like that, or buildings come and go.
They come and go.
Extraordinary. And we do forget things. So it's actually very important that films are made, that there's an attempt to sort of collect the raw memory before it's lost forever.
So that's what the film was about, and it was quite an interesting journey going through the stretch of communism, the 45 years, and seeing the way that it's an incredible thing that ultimately the reason that communism collapsed, there was a wide variety of reasons why it collapsed. The simplest answer being it doesn't work. but the more complex reasons is in 1986, Gorbachev announced that basically they couldn't financially continue to enforce their policies in the Eastern Bloc. And basically he sort of waved his hand and said, you know, we can't let it go, basically. And that's what eventually, inevitably allowed the reform. It's just the communists couldn't afford to keep going. It wasn't possible. And it's an incredible thing that basically, it's an incredible thing to see how the free market operates. And I think one of the things that the film shows is that in economics, every small move, every small shift, you can follow its ripple. And it inevitably will lead to a domino effect from, if you move one thing, it will lead to something else moving. Yes. And that was sort of trying to follow those steps as the communists maneuvered and then tried to sort of rebalance their own mistakes. And this very odd game of, you know the game with the tower, the tower, and you take out
yes, exactly.
Of sort of badaboom, it's called in French. Of that, effectively, that's what they were sort of playing, and they're sort of trying to rebalance this tower, which had to collapse because the foundation, the economic foundation, isn't solid, and that's what the film was, and it was a warning to my generation, to people born after the transformation, and 30% of Poles have not lived a single day under a totalitarian regime. 1/3 of Poles is basically born after 1989. So there is no living memory in one out of three people in Poland doesn't have a living memory of that totalitarianism and of the dangers of communism. I think it's very important to understand the dangers and the risks. And I think that our parents' generation, I mean, perhaps not my parents because we weren't in Poland, but when I speak to young people here, I don't believe that they've actually taken the lessons from their parents. I don't believe that they understand fully that 30 odd years ago, there were empty shops. Yeah, and there were queues, hours, days.
Because those are photographs which appear in history books, like any other photograph in history books, and history is boring because social media is more exciting.
Yeah,
I mean, I've got a friend here, just sort of slight digression, but on the say he runs business, and he's always had on his desk a bust of Lenin, just to remind his employees that, you know, if they don't like the capitalist way, there was another way, which is a rather dramatic way of illustrating. I mean, he's a very good employer, and people are very happy that, and he's very, very kind. But just as a way of reminding people that once upon a time things here were done rather differently, and it didn't really end particularly. I mean, the concept now we live in a land of plenty. The concept of empty shelves in shops is just, and now you're going to enter even into the small, tiny little Polish local food shop, you know. They've got 15 different types of olive oil. I mean, it's just extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
Isn't it? And it's not a particularly good shop either.
No, but it's extraordinary.
How things have changed from empty shelves to 15 or 16 types of olive oil. I mean, that's a tremendous improvement. But you're right, young people forget.
But that's another, I think, it's a wonderful thing, is to sort of re-find that sense of wonder in something that appears completely normal. It takes that drastic situation to suddenly realize what a wonderful thing that you can walk into a shop and there are 15 types of, for instance, olive oil. It's a wonderful thing. And to regain that sense of wonder, you need to go back to these dramatic events.
So that's probably a good note on which to end, this sense of wonder as we now go into shops where the shelves are overflowing and they're not empty. Stefan, that's been fantastic talking about your films, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you, Nicholas, for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so we're in a different room now. This is the child's room, I think you said?
Yes, exactly. This is a child, exactly boys' room, young boy room. And when we look around, we can see really interesting stuff. For example, here on the table we have a radio with earphones. We have a really beautiful diary. And on the shelves we have a club. For example,
And this is for playing a ball game, yeah?
ball
like
game.
baseball.
In Polish it is called palant.
Palant, but it's like baseball. It's
Yes.
compared. It's a early, a forerunner of
course.
baseball.
Mhm.
Yeah. And here's the. Is that the ball, or is this the ball? Maybe this is the ball. I think.
This is the ball.
Yeah. So it's a wooden ball. That's fascinating. Yeah, I like that. And
We have also boxes for chocolates, for sweets, small figures.
yeah, like soldiers or something. Yeah. No, these things. You mean, just things to play with. Yeah, the kids like. And walking sticks. What's this? Do we know? Nice stick, anyway. Oh, is it for? Oh, it looks
Fishing rod, I suppose.
Is it?
When we look
because you
closer,
can-
you know,
Yeah.
here we
that's
have
right.
a hole and
It's
fishing
a
rod.
fishing rod because you could
As
stick it
simple as
into the
that.
bank. Yeah, you put it in the bank, and then that's the next piece to it. I get it. Yeah, that's a nice long fishing rod. Very well made. Good. And something
What
else?
is interesting, yes, at
What's
that
interesting?
time there was no bathroom. So when we look closer to this part of our room, we can see a basin
For washing.
for washing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, oh, and I see a guitar on the top. So this is
Dark.
really, this is a
These are signs
Yeah.
of how a young boy used to spend free time. Yes.
very nice. Yeah. Okay, good. Let's go. We go to the next room here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So we came from the study to the child's room, and now we're in the.
In the bedroom.
This is a bedroom. Yeah.
Yes.
That must be why there's a big bed there.
That's why we have it here.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, and we have a dressing table there, and all the normal stuff. But this is an interesting piece.
Yes.
This is
Here
the,
we have a praying table.
Yeah. So you would kneel down here. You got the Bible there, and you would be
Probably
able to.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, before you retire for the evening. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Then you would say your prayers. Interesting. Anything notable that you wanted to point out particularly? I mean, it's all pretty straightforward, isn't it? Yeah.
It was a special room for resting. So
Yeah. So everything is related. It was related to that, and no television.
no television, definitely, as you can see.
Yeah, they didn't have television then.
No, at that time.
They did actually. They had the first television broadcasts were in 1939, I believe, and there may have even been one before that. But television got postponed because of the war. How about that? Because they didn't have time to
But we
think
have
about it.
here radio.
Yeah, radio, of course. You are quite right. Okay, what's next? Through here? Okay, and this is the living room, right?
The living room, the main room of our manor house. When we look around, we can easily judge how people used to spend their free time. For example, here we have a playing table. They used to listen to live music. That's why we have a piano.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they spend drinking their time drinking and
Tea or coffee.
drinking tea, coffee, and chatting.
And chatting. The women are in here, the men are over there playing cards, right?
Right, for example. And what else do we have here? Also photographs.
Yeah,
So
photographs.
they used to.
And there's a phonograph.
Yes.
Look, a record player. Here. And this, you would play, you would wind it, yes?
Yes, it was operated.
You would crank
Wind
it like
it.
this, yeah. Very nice. Okay. Great room. Let's go to the next one. this would be the Black Kitchen,
The
right?
Black Kitchen, that's right.
What's special? Why do they call it that?
Because as you look around, there is no window. That's why it is black.
Uh-huh. So, and why is there no window? Do we know why? It was just because it's in the middle of the house. It's convenient to all the rooms, probably. Yeah?
Yes, it's true.
So we're right in the center of the house now.
Very center of the house. What is interesting, in the past, people who used to live here didn't prepare here meals. Meals generally were prepared outside of the house.
Because of danger of fire, yeah?
No, actually, they didn't like the smell.
They didn't like the smells of the food?
Of cooking.
Really?
Yeah, really.
How different they are to us today.
It's true.
As we cook our food and watch our television, right? A very different sort of life. Okay, the Black Kitchen, good. And we need to go around to go to the living room, right? Oh, no, the dining room.
To the dining
room, okay. Okay, and this is the, obviously, dining room.
Yes, it's dining room with really beautiful tablecloth, with really
elegant
highly,
chairs,
yes,
yeah.
elegant and highly decorated chairs.
Those chairs
what
are
else do
beautiful.
we have here? For example, radio from 1935.
I thought it was a television.
No, it's a radio.
It's a radio, okay, obviously. We might hear, I can hear Orson Welles doing the War of the Worlds broadcast in 1939. I think it was 38, actually. Yeah. And of course, in the dining room, you have the pictures of the family, relatives, and things like that. Yeah? And there you are. Beautiful room. Oh, look at this clock. What do you call that in Polish, that clock? We call it grandfather clock.
Grandfather.
In English. What do you call it? Do you know?
Do you have a special name on this kind of clock?
No special name, right?
No special name.
Yeah. Well, there you are. This lady looks very, very formidable. But this is of an earlier time, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. This would be 19th century, mid-19th century, I'd say. Yeah, around the Civil War, American Civil War time. 1850, maybe? Yeah, just before the uprising. Yeah. Okay, here we are in the Dvor. Stay with us for the next exciting episode of Poland Daily Travel. I'm here with Dagmara Karpinska, who is the promotional lady at
Muzeum Wsi Lubelskiej.
Yeah, she says it better than I do. Stay with us.